of Pakistan and the rest of the world, Rich Shams bringing you fantabulous and most dynamic program around the globe, which is full of legends, celebrities, politicians, current affairs, entertainment, sports, and much more. So stay tuned on your favorite TV channel, JNN. Good evening viewers, it's Rich Shams. Today is 3rd of July 2020, another outbreak day of COVID-19. Viewers, the topic we're going to discuss is going to be related to the psychological problems we are facing around the world and especially in Pakistan as well. Prime Minister Imran Khan announces that we have to deal with this virus. That means that we have to live with this virus until the vaccination has to come. Fair enough, we accept that. But the other problems we are facing, we have to deal with it as well. Because as a nation, as a community, as a house people, we are facing a psychological problems at the moment. Today, I'm going to discuss this a vital issue with one of the renowned psychologists of the country, Mr. Ahsan. We got a caller on, I think, with the guest. Mr. Ahsan is on the audio link. We have to talk with him. Good evening, Mr. Ahsan. Right. Okay. We'll try to contact again. The Prime Minister announces that the virus, we have to deal with this virus, and during this pandemic, right, we have to deal with it, and we have to change the lifestyle and the life pattern of ourselves. During the world, around the Europe, America, and other countries, like 210 countries, we are facing these psychological problems on the huge scale. It could be the economical failure, it could be the job loss, it could be the heat of moment, it could be anything. But this thing is going bigger, bigger and bigger. The patient with the hypertension and diabetes, they are more vulnerable to this. I think we got our guest on the audio link, Mr. Ahsan. Good evening, Mr. Ahsan.
Thank you, Mr. Zwan. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. What about you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Mr. Ahsan, as you know that we are talking today a very vital issue, which is called psychological problems nowadays. I'm going to take you to the topic straight away. I'm going to ask the first question, that after the pandemic, will the human psychology change around the world?
Mr. Rizwan, you very well know that psychology is the study of people's behaviors and of their mental processes. So this is absolutely correct that this pandemic has changed people's psychology to a great extent. Many people are living under great fear of catching this disease. Others are having anxiety-related issues. People even fear when they have a normal fever or sore throat and try to avoid people showing any of these symptoms. So when all people fear to catch a contagious disease, it sometimes takes the form of Hobbesian nightmare. You understand? You might not know what is the Hobbesian nightmare. Hobbesian nightmare is a term which is used to indicate war of all against all. And we have seen incidents of fighting over tissue rolls even in Western countries.
Right. Mr. Ahsan, the next question I'm going to ask, because before I connect you on the audio link, I was talking to the viewers that the people of hypertension and diabetes patients are more exposed to the psychological problems. Is it true?
Mr. Zwan, though there is no research data available to support this statement, but on its website, WHO has mentioned that older people and those with underlying medical problems like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chronic respiratory disease, and cancer are more likely to develop such serious illnesses if they are struck by COVID-19. Also, available stats from different world hospitals showed that mortality rate is high among COVID patients who have a history of diabetes or coronary heart disease. So these findings and related use could put a great pressure on people with hypertension and diabetes. So my suggestion, my advice to such people who are suffering from these illnesses
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Mr. Essen. That's
Yes, yes.
that point which I'm trying to give to the viewers, and I'm going to take a point from you. That
Yes.
you know the patients of diabetes and hypertension people and the people of the old age, like
Right.
above or 60 or 70s, right? So when the COVID came, the lockdown situations, these people gets self-isolated themselves, right? They're not talking to their kids, they're not seeing their relatives and everything. But
Yes.
if that psychological problem is gonna come, how they gonna interact with the people?
Yes, Mr. Lal, this is a very serious issue, and I was going to explain and giving an advice regarding this. My advice to such people is who are suffering from such illnesses,
Right.
please avoid
Right.
spending much time on the TV and internet, especially on the news related to COVID-19. Okay.
Right.
They should try to engage themselves in healthy activities like talking to their kids over phone, to their grandkids, watching some old family videos, and some good entertainment stuff.
Right. But Mr. Essen, again, what I'm asking, do you know nowadays on the media channels or on the social media or any medium which is effective for the knowledge, I hardly see anything that which is compatible to them and they can interact and they can learn from them and then they can talk with their relatives or their loved ones. I think that this thing is lacking nowadays. Do you think that?
To some extent,
Okay.
all the media in the world is not actually promoting a healthy stuff, healthy
Right.
content.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna take you to the next question, and this is a very vital question, and you have to talk briefly on that as your experiences as well. Do you know the kids are more threats for the psychological problems during these days because the schools are closed, right? There is no activities going on in the schools. As Mr. Essen let me know, you know, I've studied some of the researches last week. United Kingdom, they're going to open mostly the things and they're going to ease lockdown on the 4th of July, probably tomorrow, right? And the schools will be open after the 15th of July, which is called as a bubble bisecular. Bubble bisecular means that the parents and the teachers, they will know that where the kids are, right? And if any couple of them gonna be symptoms of COVID, the schools will be shut down and everything. But my question to you is, the kids are the more threats to the psychological problems nowadays. What do you think on that?
This is a very important question, very important question. It's about 3 months that children are at home and not going to schools.
Right.
Though school environment puts some pressure over the children,
Right.
but at the same time, it provides a unique opportunity to them to mingle with their age fellows, discuss with them their interests, previous their family matters, and little worries in their own specific style.
Right.
And it provides a great relief and joy to them. Unfortunately, children are missing this routine badly,
Right.
especially the ones who are the only child. So this is a time when parents, along with taking care of their own mental health, need to take a good care of their kids too. Parents should discuss COVID-19 issues with their children in an honest and age-appropriate language. Be more vigilant about their screen time. Try engaging them.
Right.
in some games like
I'll ask you one more time. I'm gonna hold you here. I'm gonna hold you here.
Okay.
What do you mean by the appropriate language or appropriate words? Because basically, if the kids, if for example, your kid, my kids, they're gonna watch the television, right?
Okay.
And every time there's the tickers going on underneath the screen, there's a COVID. So many people got died, and they're giving the numbers, right?
Okay.
So how can and you know nowadays there's a summer, right? The people, they have to stick inside indoors, right? And they have to watch the television all the times, right?
Yes.
So how can we talk appropriate language and how can we refrain them for watching television of this appropriate, what you can say, the news is about the deaths and the fatalities?
Mr. Rizwan, this is the time when parents have to be more vigilant about the children's screen time.
Right.
They have to engage them in some good games, like I mentioned earlier, like carrom board, like Ludo, chess, Monopoly, etc.
Okay.
Okay, and most important of all, make a proper schedule for their daily studies too.
Right. Mr. Hassan, do you observe that, when the lockdown started in Pakistan, because this is the first time we faced, like I faced, you faced, right? The lockdown came in the city of capital city of Pakistan and Rawalpindi, right? Do you know, I observed myself, I went to one of the local shops, and do you know the game we normally play in our childhood, and we're trying to play with our family called Ludo, right?
Yes.
In the month of the last week, I think probably in the last week of March, when this lockdown started, I haven't seen Ludo on most of the sports shops. So
Yes.
what do you think on that?
Yes, yes, this is a serious issue.
Yeah.
Again, it's come to the domain of the government. The government has to ensure that such all healthy games, which are good, which can reduce the children's screen time, should be available in the market in ample quantity.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the government plans and the efforts after this. But tell me something about, the kids, they're not going to school at the moment, right? And the teachers and the school officials, they send the homework to, and they're doing the online classes. Can you please briefly explain that that if the online class is going to be in the parents, they have to deal with this problem as well, right? And some of the parents, they are struggling, they can't deal with this online classes.
Yes, yes.
The psychological problem again going to come in the houses because of they're not getting their knowledge properly, because the kids, some of the kids, they can't use the mobile phones, they can't use the laptops.
Unfortunately, Mrs. Vant, you would have seen a lady that came, I think that came from Google and joined our prestigious government. I forgot her name, but that lady should be leading nowadays when everything is shifting to the online.
Right.
But unfortunately, we are not seeing that lady.
Right.
You remember that lady that came from Google and joined the IT department?
Yeah.
We are not seeing that lady now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this: nowadays, I think the people what they can get. I mean, they can't go outside, they can't communicate with the other people. They have to rely on the Google most of the stuff. What do you think that? So that means we have to talk more on the IT stuff to tackle these things.
Yes, yes. We have to teach the parents, not only the children. We have to also give some training. We have to organize some training sessions for the parents as well.
Right. Yeah, what I'm saying is probably when I'm going to ask the question one more time again to expand this question. When the schools will be open, right, and the kids will go to the school, do you think that the psychological problems will get more around the world, or it's going to get reduced?
In my opinion, Mr. Ilwan, I think I'm very hopeful that inshallah when the schools will be open in all the world, along with having children to follow the late SOPs,
Right.
and with suitable education and suitable communication to make them realize the situation, things will going to be better inshallah.
Right. Mr. Hassan, this is the question we're going to ask right now, right? And after this question, when you give the answers to me, I'll go to the break. Let me ask you the question which is very vital at the moment. That's, what is your observations that efforts to reduce the psychological problems are enough from the government? Like I'm asking, that's the government, they're doing the efforts nowadays. Are they enough to tackle with the psychological problems? Do you think that?
Mrs. Van, I took a long sip. The government has done a great deal of work to handle medical implications of this pandemic.
Okay.
However, when we see towards the psychological side,
Yeah.
we see very little effort to minimize psychological effects of it.
Right.
One of major reasons for this is there is no central body in the country like Pakistan Psychological Council.
Right.
So we don't see any coordinated and integrated efforts in this regard. In fact, there are zero efforts from government to mitigate and minimize psychological effects of this pandemic.
Yes, yes, Mr. Asad, that's what that's our bring this topic for the viewers. That viewers nowadays you have seen there's so many topics regarding the fatalities and the politicians and all the
Yes.
stuff. But
Yes.
today, why I've chosen this topic, because the psychological problems are facing. I mean, if the psychological problems are getting bigger and bigger, it's gonna cause so many other problems Plus, the chronic diseases like hypertension and diabetes, they will get prolonged, right?
Yes.
Do you know, I haven't seen any press conference. Mr.
Please
Hassan.
allow me to complete my answer.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
I have some observations regarding the government, what the government has been doing to all this area. What should the government has done? First of all, government should have formulated a strategy with media houses on sensible reporting of COVID-19.
Yes.
One that should have been without any sensationalism. Further, government should have established a central and district level helpline to provide counseling and psychological support to the people who got severely disturbed.
Right.
And later, strict vigilance should have been done to control spread of any false and fear-mongering news over the social media.
Now, my question is, Mr. Aston, right? I'm talking to you. The question which I throw on you now, just one thing just came in mind. Do you know why it is important for the psychological clinics in the hospitals? Like, you know, it's 100 days nearly over of COVID-19, right? If any health official should come on the screen and do the press conference, and they can do a little stuff that can reduce the psychological problems, that they can allocate the psychological clinics or psychiatrists near to the COVID, which again, not the ward, but in the hospital where the COVID patients are. After when they discharge from the hospital, they're going to get counseling. Do you think that?
You are right. That is the time when they need even more counseling and more psychological help from the people around them and from some experts. And unfortunately, we don't see any such facility. We don't see any such guidelines. We don't see any such setup where the discharged patient can go and have the required mental health.
Right. Do you know the mental health issue? It's what you can say well renowned, and you know mental health issue. We have heard this word nowadays very frequently, especially in Europe, United Kingdom, America, and what's your take on this? That's on the mental health issue. How can we tackle with any mental health person if he or she looking fit, but we have a mental health issue, and during this COVID, how can we treat or how can we talk with them?
Mr. Rizwan, businesses are at halt, complete shutdown, children not going to school, lack of physical contact with friends and families. These are the things which are now new normal.
Yes.
Lockdown could be a source of great stress, especially for males in our society, who used to remain for 10 to 12 hours outside home. Now these adults have to attend their children 24/7 and listen to their spouses as well at the same time.
Yes.
We, especially males, are in much more need of self-control than ever. One thing which all males and the male, especially related to our society, need to do is open up. I repeat, please open up. Yes, open up how you are feeling about all this situation. Express yourself to your spouse, to your close friends and other family members. Don't be shy in expressing your fears and worries.
But you know, Mr. Hassan, you must observe that some patients, when they come to the clinics and they open up themselves, do you know when they open themselves, because of this COVID-19, where do you think that if they're going to open up that the problem going to be overcome?
Sorry, Mr. Zwan, I couldn't hear your question.
Sorry. My question is, for example, if any patient, he or she going to call to the psychological clinic, right, during this COVID-19, right? And do you think that they can helpful or they're going to reduce their psychological problems if they're going to open up?
To a little extent.
To a little extent. That's okay. To a little extent. So that means little more effort or more innovations has to be done on this thing, right? Hello?
Absolutely, Mr. Rizwan.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Hassan, I'm going to leave you. We're going to talk again. Viewers, I'm going to take a short break. After the break, we're going to talk with Mr. Hassan, and most interesting questions going to come after this break. So, don't go away. Stay tuned. JNN. Take a short break. Viewers of Pakistan and the rest of the world, Ray Shams bringing you a fantabulous and most dynamic program around the globe. which is full of legends, celebrities, politicians, current affairs, entertainment, sports, and much more. So stay tuned on your favorite TV channel, JNN.
जब छाँव धूप में बदलेगी, जब गरीब के घर का चूल्हा बुझेगा, जब इंसाफ एक मुश्किल पहेली बन जाए, जब तालीम और रोजगार आम आदमी के लिए नायाब हो जाएगा, तब मेरे मुल्क के हर एक कोने से एक ही आवाज आएगी, ये तो होगा।
Viewers of Pakistan and the rest of the world, Ray Shams bringing you a fantabulous and most dynamic program around the globe, which is full of legends, celebrities, politicians, current affairs, entertainment, sports, and much more. So stay tuned on your favorite TV channel, JNN. Viewers of Pakistan and the rest of the world, Ray Shams bringing you a fantabulous and most dynamic program around the globe, which is full of legends, celebrities, politicians, current affairs, entertainment, sports, and much more. So stay tuned on your favorite TV channel, JNN. Welcome back, viewers. We're going to talk again with Mr. Hassan, where we started the psychological problem during the COVID-19. Yes, Mr. Hassan.
Yes, please, Mr.
Right. So the next question I'm going to ask you about the lockdown causes more disruption to the human psychology. Do you think that because of the lockdown?
Very important issue, Mr. Rizwan. And this is the issue about which WHO has warned significantly.
Right.
That there's going to be an increase in the domestic violence cases. So, what should we do?
Right.
Number one, Mr. Rizwan, my suggestion to both male and female partners, please try to avoid hard talk on petty issues.
Right.
Secondly, a huge and impressive campaign need to be launched by the federal and provincial government, one that conveys the message and at the same time does not provoke already violent people.
Right.
Entertainment media also need to play its part by making such dramas and serials which promote harmony among families and provide guidance to women and children how they should cope with such an unfavorable situation.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Hassan, we talk about, number one, we talk about the human psychology around the world. Number one, we talk about the hypertension. we talk about the kids' threats to the psychological problems. We talk about the government efforts, right, which is none at the moment regarding the
Yes.
psychological problems, which I can try to say. Prime Minister, do you know what I'm saying is, our Prime Minister Imran Khan took the good initiatives. My previous programs, if you see that, Prime Minister Imran Khan always took the good initiatives. They talk about the developed countries. They want to grow our country and to make and the standard high. But the government officials and the team underneath, they are doing none. I mean,
Absolutely
they
right, Mr. Rizwan.
yes. So
Not
so,
Mr.
so
Han,
you
he has
agree
to
with
do
me, right?
everything.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Right, okay. Mr. Hassan, the interesting question I'm going to ask you right now, before the break, I've told the viewers that after the break I'm going to ask some interesting question with Mr. Hassan because he's a psychologist, renowned psychologist of the country. Tell me something about your personal experience, if you don't mind, that's how you deal with the COVID and how you dealt with the psychological problems
Yes.
in your own era.
Mr. Rizwan, I'm a student of psychology, a humble student. And even sometimes I seriously got worried during early days of this pandemic.
Right,
Thinking about my family, my kid, my parents and relatives.
right,
You probably very well know that my both parents got COVID positive.
yeah,
And it had been a very tough time for them and for my whole family as well. But thank God they have recovered and they are now on the way to attain perfect health.
yes,
So difficult times are coming to everyone. This is the time we should show resilience. We should show our trust in God. We should show our trust in humanity.
right. Mr. Hassan, the next question it is linked to this, the previous question which you just asked. Do you know nowadays the domestic violence has increased during this pandemic? People are having a domestic violence, and the moment of heat increases. How can we reduce this about the domestic violence and the heat of moment? You know, okay. So we're going to talk in two phases: A phase and B phase. You have to tell me phase A in the urban areas, like the one we are living in, and you have to give the answer as a section B, that the people in the rural areas or the people that the literacy rate is very low, how they can cope with it. So give me answers in A for the urban people and how we can deal with the rural people.
Yes. I think this problem is more pertaining to the urban areas. In rural areas, people are observing the SOP, but they cannot remain locked in their houses, and also government do not strictly implement lockdowns there. Actually, problem is in the urban areas where the male partner, usually male partner, has to go outside home to office. He had to remain for 10 to 12 hours outside home. But now that male partner is at home, he has to deal with his kid 24/7. He has to listen. He has to engage with the spouse as well. So my advice is for those people, please avoid hard talks on petty issues.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Hassan, in my previous program, I asked one of the doctors or the renowned doctor of the country, because he's a front warrior of the COVID-19. And
Yeah.
the question which I've asked him in the last show, that the urban areas COVID facing and the rural areas, and can you believe that he gave the same answer, the one you gave? The people in the rural areas, they are living in the big fields, open air, ventilations there. I mean, they're eating a fresh food.
Yeah.
We're having, alhamdulillah, we're not facing that much problems at the moment in the rural areas, and I pray from the God, and we hope that the vaccination should come early, and we have to finish this pandemic. Right. The next question we're going to ask Mr. Hassan. Hope sustains the world. Right? Is a famous phrase. Hope sustains the world. Can you tell me, according to your psychological theory, that what is the light of hope during this pandemic?
Mr. Rizwan, we Muslims and all other monotheistic religions believe that this world is a temporary place where we have been put to pass through some trials. Therefore, if the luxuries of this world are temporary, then our problems are too. Also, sometimes nature makes us to pass through some trials to make us more resilient and wise. Further, there are people who have been dreading to start some businesses, are happily starting some online venture, as
Right.
it incurs little cost and a great audience reach.
Right.
So every adversity has a seed of an equal advantage in it.
Right. Mr. Essen, as you know, our channel is national language mostly. And in my shows, I've experienced that in my shows, I always ask the guest to give this special sentences and special things in Urdu so the viewers, they can listen that and they can understand that's what we're talking about. On this question, with the question which I've just asked you, what is the light of hope during this pandemic? Can you please explain in Urdu so the viewers can understand that, and after that we're going to proceed the program. So what is the light of hope during these days in Urdu, please?
रिजवान साहब, हमारे प्यारे नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने कहा कि जो शख्स रहम नहीं करता उस पर रहम नहीं किया जाएगा। नबी पाक ने ये भी कहा कि कोई भी शख्स जब किसी की तरफ जो है वो किसी के साथ जो है वो काइंडनेस दिखाएगा, मेहरबानी करेगा, भले वो कोई मामूली सी क्रिएचर ही क्यों ना हो, कोई चोटी जैसी मखलूक तो उसका भी उसको रिवार्ड दिया जाएगा।
Right.
तो ये टाइम है कि हम लोग साबित करें कि हम वाकई नबी रहमत के फॉलोअर्स हैं और अपनी जिंदगियों में जो है वो एम्पैथी जैसे कंसेप्ट को लेके आए, दूसरों के लिए रहम पैदा करें, जो लोग जो है वो कोविड से हिट हो रहे हैं उनके लिए रहम पैदा करें और उनके लिए आसानियां पैदा करने की कोशिश करें। तो
Oh, wow.
माय ओपिनियन, मेरे ख्याल से हमारा मोटो इस टाइम पे होना चाहिए, बी काइंड।
Oh, okay. Hold on a second, Mr. Hassan. You know why I've hold you here, because the sentence you just said that, starting from the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know that it's feel that the things coming. I mean, the light of hope is still coming, right? It is started, right? I'm going to ask the question which is linked to the previous question just now. As a nation, you just said that the word of motto, right? So. Let me ask the question on this one. As a nation, what should our motto during these days?
Do you want me to tell this in Urdu or English?
Yes, please carry on Urdu if you want. Yes, please.
रिजवान साहब, एक बड़ा खूबसूरत शेर है, मैं वो दोहराऊंगा यहाँ पे कि यही है इबादत, यही दीन और ईमान, कि काम आए दुनिया में इंसान के इंसान।
Oh wow, brilliant. Right. So, Mr. Hassan, your feedback and suggested sentences in the end, if you can explain your suggested and your sentences and your feedbacks.
Yes. This is one. There was an author named Giovanni Boccaccio. It was an author in the 14th century, and he describes his experience of the plague in Florence, which was a city in Italy.
Right.
And he tells us that there was such a dreadful situation in which people flee the city, brothers forced to brothers, uncle, aunt, their nephews and nieces.
Right.
And what was more disturbing, that in some cases even parents refused to attend their sick children, leaving them utterly to the mercy of fate.
Right.
So now we are about 700 years above from that. This is the time that humanity claims that it has reached the peak of civilization. So we need to show more empathy, more emotion control, and more kindness to all the people around us.
Right. Mr. Hassan, I have to conclude the program, right? But I'm going to ask some important things from you, so I'm going to conclude the program. So, okay, tell me on the checklist, like you know the checklist, 1, 2, 3, 4, can you give me some brief notes that the government should act on this, and as an individual we should do this? So can you please tell me the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4?
Government, first of all, should help the regular helpline, 24/7 helpline.
Regular helpline 24/7. Wow, what an excellent point you just explained. 24/7 helpline for the psychological problems or the people having the mental health issue. Very good.
Secondly, government should establish proper psychological health centers in every city, big city.
Right.
Okay, and regarding a personal attitude, please have some good books to read. Spend least time on the COVID news. Be kind to your family. engage yourself with your children.
Mr. Hassan, unfortunately the program's time is going to be over soon. I have to conclude the program. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Khan.
And we'll talk more on this one. And the viewers, Mr. Hassan was a psychologist we're talking today, and very brief points and very effective points he just told that. I'm going to repeat again, if you could write it down, and it's going to be helpful for you, for your family and your loved ones. The government should open that line for 24/7 for the mental health issues and the psychological problems people. And as an individual, we have to read some books, do some activities. We have to make some charts for the kids that they have to be active in the healthy activities. I'll sign you here from there. Have a nice weekend. Look after yourselves. Stay strong, Pakistan. Long live Pakistan. Signing off, Rishams.
जब छाँव धूप में बदलेगी, जब गरीब के घर का चूल्हा बुझेगा, जब इंसाफ एक मुश्किल पहेली बन जाए, जब तालीम और रोजगार आम आदमी के लिए नायाब हो जाएगा, तब मेरे मुल्क के हर एक कोने से एक ही आवाज आएगी, ये तो होगा।